We're back in it, back in the groove here with the first major title that we've seen here. I mean, unless you want to count Excite Bike or the incredible 10-yard fight as the first big hitter. But no. Super Mario Brothers, I think, is the undisputed classic of the original lineup. In my opinion, no, that's in everybody's opinion. That's pretty much a raw fact. This is the Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt cartridge ROM. Obviously, Duck Hunt is off the shelf. I think RetroArch might even emulate Light Gun with mouse inputs, but who wants to just click on ducks, right? So we'll just get straight into Super Mario Brothers here. Now, I don't have to introduce you to this game. You've all heard of it. You all know what it's about. You jump on things. You get to the end. You save the princess. Yeah, I'm willing to wager that just about everybody who's watching this has played Super Mario Brothers in some capacity. If not the original NES version, then some kind of port of it somewhere, because there is no shortage of ways to play it. I mean, heck, even I own Super Mario Brothers on at least 2 different platforms. I've got Super Mario Brothers Deluxe for the Game Boy Color, and I've got the NES cartridge, you know? You accumulate versions of Super Mario Brothers when you do stuff like this. It's only a matter of time until I get a Super Mario All-Stars cartridge, and then look at that, I'll have yet another way to play Super Mario Brothers. Now, I'm going to be straight up with you. I am not the greatest Mario player that you've ever witnessed on the planet. There's going to be some probably fairly embarrassing outcomes here. I might run into a Goomba that I by all means could have ignored. Or, you know, just not been... I've just not hit. Botched the flag, but, you know, it's fine. You know, look at all the top speedrunners in the world. They don't want to get to the top of the flag, so really, I'm just doing what's good for me. You know, I have gone on record and said that I've never beat the game without warp pipes. I believe I've beat it with warp pipes. And given the nature of this channel, I'm not going to be using warp pipes. You all know they exist. I assume. If you don't know they exist, there are secret areas that let you go to other worlds. That's it. That's all they do. But for the sake of witnessing as much of the game as we can here, we're just going to ignore their presence and play through as if we didn't even know that they existed, just from one level to the next. And who knows, maybe this will be the day where I actually beat it completely, and then I'll say, dang it, why couldn't I have done this on the original hardware? I'm missing out on some of the secret little zones that are in those warp pipes, by the way. I'm aware of that. I know they exist. So already, you know, I'm not proud of the fact that I am in fact a little babby-sized Mario. Over there is the first warp zone, again. I take it for granted and assume that everybody knows that, but you never know. There we go. Get to the top of that flagpole. We're not speedrunners. We're searching for those high scores. So yeah, if you see that little, like, white and black checker up in that upper left corner, I believe that is the light gun emulation that is just going to always be active because this is a light gun capable cartridge. If I am not mistaken. I don't know every single last little feature of RetroArch, but reason would dictate that that's not a bad assessment to make. This is a kind of tricky mushroom to get sometimes. You gotta hit it from that side so that it doesn't go flying off into the abyss to the right. Believe me, I've played these first few levels enough times to know for the most part what's going on. Now, it can be kind of easy to take Super Mario Brothers for granted in a world where we have, you know, just kind of an endless birth of absolutely incredible games out there. You look and you say, why this of all things? Why was this the top dog? I present to you Exhibit 1, Ice Climbers. You compare the jumping in Ice Climbers to the jumping in Super Mario Brothers, and it's pretty much an immediate indicator of what made this game such a massive deal. Ice Climbers, jumping is, oh gosh, is a tumultuous affair, to put it kindly. Same thing with, like, the original Donkey Kong, which we'll be playing pretty soon, actually. Jumping is, more of a, formality than a, legitimate technique that you can really rely on. Okay, we made it through, even though we took some hits that we probably shouldn't have. World 1, easy peasy, 5 minutes. That's a world record right there, for sure. Kappa. But no, Super Mario Brothers was absolutely, like, maybe the first ever platformer to just really get movement down properly. The fact that you have control over your jumps once you leave the ground, that's really easy to take for granted. Aww. I believe it. We got another mushroom in here somewhere, right? There can't be this many blocks and there not be a mushroom. I knew it. I'm a genius. If I were a real genius, I just wouldn't get hit in the first place, but, you know. Look at that combo jump. That's one for the highlight reel. No one's ever done that before. No. Super Mario Brothers is one of those games where if you question, has somebody done this before, the answer is almost most definitely yes. Just with the sheer amount of people who have played this game, the sheer amount of hours that have been pumped into this game. I mean, look at the speedrun leaderboards here. We're at the point now where they're basically more or less being measured by the frame rather than by the second. This game is optimized to all hell, and it's still not perfect. Not perfect meaning the speedrun. People can still save a frame here and there. But we are casual. We are a very casual player here. I'm decent at video games overall, but I wouldn't call myself particularly hardcore about any one specific video game out there. I don't know if I've said this before, I probably have, but if I open up like my Steam library, the game I put the most hours into is Counter-Strike with about 600 hours. And even then, compared to like everybody else who plays Counter-Strike, that's baby numbers. Those are rookie numbers. You gotta pump those up. It's probably why I've never exceeded Gold Nova in that game, you know? I play it for a while, and then I just kind of drop it because I get tired of it. I don't have, like, a bad attention span for games. Like, I can sit down and beat a game, no problem, but when it's, like, one of those endless games where there's no real end to it, that's when I kind of say, alright, time to do something else here. That's why I never did really get hooked on World of Warcraft. I've played World of Warcraft. I've done raids in World of Warcraft, but not at a very high level. Because I just prefer games that end. I like to eventually say, okay, I have accomplished it. And I suppose you could make the argument saying, like, oh, Counter-Strike Global Offensive ends when you hit top rank. It's like, yeah, but you could play your entire life and never hit top rank. I know, in a theoretical world where everybody improves all the time, which is, you know, a perfect world, it would dictate that you would eventually have to hit top rank if you practice enough and gradually get better. But, you know, it's not an exercise or an experiment that I'm willing to take on. This is definitely one of the strangest levels in this game. Almost no actual platforms, just fish and a bridge. It's a classic. But yeah, that's a lot of the reason why I play single-player games way more than I tend to play multiplayer games. It's not that I never touch multiplayer games. I've been playing a lot of Titanfall 2 lately, because it's just really, really fun. But that too will come to an end. I'm not gonna be at the point where I've put 800 hours into Titanfall 2. Oh, barely. Barely, narrowly. And yeah, this is where we can just, oh, well, I was gonna say we can just toast Bowser, but we kind of botched that a little bit. Again, I'm not a top-level player, but we have completed World 2 with 10 minutes on the clock here. There are 8 worlds, so we're on pace to not even beat the game. No, yes, we are on pace actually to beat the game, provided we maintain a standard of excellence, which we didn't. First death. Alright. Now this game, I think it has continues, but you have to like put in a very specific input at the game over screen to access continues, which is why I haven't beat the game, because I always seem to fail that basic input, and therefore I don't continue. I just game over and I get sent right back to the Shadow Realm and level 1-1. No. That's exceptionally bad news right there. It's alright, you know, just play it cool. You don't gotta blaze through it. You don't have to kick every Koopa shell. Right. So Hammer Brothers, the bane of everybody who has played this game. They should be easy at this point in my life. You know, I guess you just run right past them and then you're good. Just pretend they're not even there and then it's not an issue. But there's still something about them that just kind of flood your brain with brief moments of panic. You're like, they're jumping up and down! What do I do? How do I counter such a thing? Oh, come on now. Well, the mushroom got away. There just wasn't an opening, you know? And it's not worth dying for a mushroom, especially when you're this close to the end of the level. Look at that. Full 5,000 points. Throw that in the Guinness Book of World Records. Oh, I got the fireworks. A speedrunner's nightmare. I like how there's a flickering in the emulation as well. Like, yeah. That's that authentic experience. Oh, look. We're invincible. Don't mind if I do. Unlike Super Mario World, I don't believe that you get 1-ups from chaining invincibility kills, so that's a shame. 1-ups just seem to be remarkably sparse in this game altogether. And no, it's not the hardest NES game ever. Absolutely not. Anybody could beat Mario with enough repetition and practice. Oh, we got the full suite of fireworks that time. We are the big boy. But you know, you gotta really optimize what you're doing to get through the game. You gotta know what's happening. Know all the best ways to operate. Boy, that's some interesting flicker on that girder. Okay. I just about panicked and walked right off the edge on the right side of that platform. That would have been not my proudest moment. These are kind of tricky, you know. You can't stay on it for too long, or else you'll just fall to your death and lose the opportunity to get on the other side. You look at the level design of Super Mario Bros. 1, and you know, it goes without saying that obviously it's a much simpler realm than later Mario games, which get really creative. But again, you know, this is the template. This is the gold standard. This is what said, hey, you gotta be at least this good, or you're just not gonna be competing. Burn him! Okay, we burned him that time. I don't know if you get an extra 5,000 points like that for burning him up, or if you would get 5,000 points for dropping him in the fire regardless. I have not been paying attention. But hey, we're at World 4-1. For whatever that's worth. We got Lakitu, the very first appearance of Lakitu, who in this game is a bastard man, but in the Mario Kart series, and Super Mario 64 actually, is a perfectly pleasant dude who just wants to provide you with basic information about the world around you. Such as a camera or a traffic light. You know, nothing wrong with that. Where's that Lakitu early on? Instead we get this this irredeemable prick Lakitu. Is it Lakitu or Lakitu? Does it matter is the question. Oh, look at this. Coins you can only get if you're a small boy. I cry. I have an appreciation for New Super Mario Bros. 2 for putting an emphasis on coins and a reason to get coins. Because, you know, coins are such a staple of Mario. But you look at him, you're like, why are you collecting them? Well, I guess, you know, if you get 100, then you do get a 1-up, so that's a perfectly reasonable reason to get them. But I like even more the Super Mario Odyssey system, where they said, you know, forget lives. Who wants lives? If you die, you lose coins. And, you know, you actually get to spend coins in Odyssey, too, so gives you a reason to not want to lose them. Granted, it's just for, you know, cosmetic stuff, but who doesn't want to play as nude Mario? Just rack up those coins, you know. We need those extra lives where we can get them. Perfect. Wow. Is that what you're gonna do to me here? Hide them all. Actually, I believe we can get to them. You just gotta get creative, you know. That's the sauce right there. Now, of course, can't waste too much time on a level. There is a timer. That is a Mario staple for some reason. Never really understood the timer, you know? It's like... I don't know. I don't even have anything intelligent to say about it. I just feel like it's... Of all the things that may have attempted to make the game more difficult, it doesn't really make it more difficult at all. It just kind of makes it mildly annoying. So I'm really worried about like bonking my head and then falling down the pit. So I'm just gonna do it this way, the safe way. Cause I stopped what I was doing. I looked into the future and I said, "Ah, yeah, that's a trap." Who needs the flagpoles? You do in Super Mario 3D World if you want to get to Champions Road, that's for sure. But if you want to get to Champions Road, well then you're basically just saying that you want a world of torment. Level's hard, to say the least. Okay, I felt a little tumultuous there, but we're good. You know, you just gotta get your timing correct. Don't panic. Take it slow. You've got a timer, but it's a pretty relaxed timer. Despite its presence in the game, it can't really do much to hurt you. Ah, 2,000. Just a couple pixels off from the big 5,000. Not like it matters. I wonder if people actually do high score runs of Super Mario Brothers, and if you do, what's the ratio of, like, time saved to, like, coins collected? Like, are you better off just trying to save all of your time, or are you better off, oh crap, I forgot the pattern here. There's a oh no, there's a specific pattern in this, oh, I found it. Never mind. Oh no! I knew that would happen this run. I knew it would happen. But, obviously, you get a lot of points for beating the level quickly. You... Okay, that doesn't anything. I thought that might be something. You get a lot of points for hitting the top of the flagpole, obviously. But are you better off just beating the level quickly and getting your points that way? Or is it worth going out of your way to break blocks and smite your enemies? I don't know. And that's what I'm curious about. Do people high score run Mario? Yeah! Cleared him that time. Alright, I shouldn't be that excited about it, but I am, you know. Alright, Toad's thanking us, as he should. We are the greatest man in the world. We've made it to World 5-1. We've got some lives left, which is good. Seems like half the time when I make it here, I'm resting at a nice times 0 on my extra life counter. And then, you know, that's when things get particularly saucy. That was probably a risk trying to even, you know, bring the fight to that Koopa Troopa. Probably would have been better off to just ignore its existence. Oh, it's the same one. If there's one lazy thing that they did in this game, it was reusing secret areas like this. I mean, come on. How do you expect anybody to call you the greatest game of all time if you reuse bonus areas? Clearly it doesn't matter because, you know, this still tops all the greatest game ever lists. And again, in retrospect, is it currently the greatest game that you could play today? Unlikely. But again, it swung those gates wide open. It told people, hey, video games, you should pay attention to them. And so they did. People said, you're right, video games look pretty cool. Oh, I thought for sure he was gonna lift another hammer up the second that I jumped on him, but no, we're fine, we're safe. Uh-oh. There's enemies in this secret area. That's a party, pal. Yeah, there's coins down there, which would be great for an extra life, but this is the safer route. An extra life means nothing to you if you die getting it. Pro tip number 1. You know, I don't know if there's anything in here, but there was, and I soiled it! Soiled every opportunity! Alright, we're at X1. We're still not at X0 though, so that's nice. Ooh. Well, you know, that was nice of the game to not spawn the Hammer Brothers when I first crawled out of that pipe. Anything in here? Yes. There it goes! There was something, but it was not for us. Not this time. This one's good though. Good, we cleared it. Yeah, you can't be too sure. Sometimes you'll just fall to your death. It's just that simple. A measly 23 coins away from an extra life, and I would definitely appreciate an extra life in this trying time. I don't like being down to ×1. I know I've still got ×0 to fall back on, but why make everything a nightmare if you can avoid that, you know? I don't think I ever actually knew that Koopa shells could destroy bullet bills. There's a cute little piece of knowledge for you. We're good there. We're good here. You know, I'm not even gonna get baited by that box down there. That's just a bad idea waiting to happen. I actually gotta kind of concentrate a little bit on this level. The constant influx of bullet bills is a mild annoyance. Turns out, wasn't a problem. I'm feeling good about this run. This is a juicy way to go about it. We're still only on World 5, almost at World 6, and once we're at 6, you know, hey, we're roll. That's what you call very, very poor timing. Oh no, you don't get down to X0. That was the end. We did botch it. Oh no. And again, I think there is a continue function, but I don't know how to access it. They hid the continue option in this game just to make your life real tough. Man, I was there, you know, feeling all high and mighty about myself, saying, "Look at this! I can afford to get cocky now. I'm doing well." And then we just game over there. All right, well now I will be using warp pipes. At the very least, just to get back to where I was. And because it's just a good excuse to show them off now in this video. You've all seen them before, but you've never seen them on this channel, so checkmate. Bring me down. I really hope we get a Super Mario Odyssey 2. I know it's not exactly a hot take, and it was a very well-received game, but Odyssey was legitimately, I think, the best Mario game I've played. Now, I haven't played Galaxy 1 or 2 yet, so take that however you want to take it. Yeah, I know, I should just rush to the warp pipes, but it's It's my run. I can do what I want. But Odyssey, there's something special about it. There really is. The soundtrack is just beautiful. The graphics are extremely shiny. Who doesn't just like shiny graphics, you know? That's all you can ask for in a video game. Gameplay sucks. Who cares, man? It looks pretty. I'm kidding, of course. I always believe that gameplay is the #1 most important thing in any game. I'd rather have a garbage-looking game that plays like a dream than a beautiful-looking game that is just horrible to play. Which is why, when I'm playing games on my computer, I will frequently condemn the concept of a higher resolution for the benefit of frame rate. I'm very much a frame rate snob, which is, you know, ironic considering I've been playing way more console games lately, but, you know, we can ignore that. Ignore the truths of this world. If given the option, I will always choose to sacrifice graphical fidelity for frame rate. We'll put it that way. I think that's a good way to put it. If a game happens to only be available in 30 frames per second, well then I'll deal with it. But it's not a coin box, it's a mushroom box. Alright. Which is why I wish that more games for consoles gave the option to downscale the resolution, and possibly even some other graphics options, so that higher frame rates are available. I would have done that with Horizon Zero Dawn in a second. It was a gorgeous game, but I mean, I don't even own a 4K TV, so when people are talking about like, oh, the PS5 is going to target 30 FPS at 4K, I'm like, but are we going to get a 1080 at 60 option? Because I got it's a high-definition TV, but it's a slightly older one, and it does not have 4K capability, so I really don't care about hitting 4K, because I will never see... I'll never see the advantage of it. Not like I'll never see it in a philosophical way, like, I don't see it. No, as in I will not visually see the difference. So, hey, please, hardware developers... hardware creators, whatever terms we want to use here. Make it an option, you know? I understand. There's a whole world of people out there, a large birth of the population that enjoys great graphics. I like good graphics as well, you know? Okay, good. This does bring us to World 5. I was afraid it would bring us past World 5. I don't want to go past World 5. Just gotta get back to where we started here. Or back to where we ended, I guess, is more the correct term. But I mean, look at this. This is an old game. Look at the frame rate. It's running very smoothly. There's the slightest occasional little dip when there's too many sprites on the screen, but it's a very, very slight change. NES games, for the most part, ran remarkably well. Unless they were developed by Micronix, and then they just didn't. Don't worry, we'll see plenty of Micronix developed games in the future, and then you'll see exactly what I'm talking about. It's a nightmare. I don't know how they even had a place in the industry. Ah, wait, because the industry was still young and there were no standards yet, that's why. How could I forget? Yeah, look at that Hammer Brothers snipe. 360 no scope, YOLO, blaze it. Whatever other obnoxious catchphrases you want, I got them. Yes, I foresaw that happening. That was another point where my brain just kind of slowed. I saw the future, and then I said, I'm good at acknowledging when disaster's about to strike and terrible about doing anything about it. Like, I am able to see, yes, that's going to happen, and then my fingers just kind of accept it, and they say, well, that's how it goes in this world. That's probably the #1 thing I would have to improve on to get good at more video games. And again, I'm okay at video games. given enough time, I could be good at just about anything that I wanted to play, but we already went over this. I don't like putting hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of hours into one game. There's so much else to play, you know? Variety is the spice of life, and, boy, I'm ready for, all the spice you can give me. Now, we could get those coins, but we only need one for the one-up, so why go chasing waterfalls? This is a extremely saucy level, I would say. I don't even know what the point of that girder is. But we've made it through both times. That's a level that looks scarier than it is. Okay, this is where we botched it last time here. Oh, look at that. Don't bother with that question mark block. Like, what are you really going to get from there? Oh, shoot. You already had a fire flower. Now you don't. Now you're dead. Now everything is awful. Now you've squandered everything you've worked towards. You know, again, I could go for it, but I feel like I would have a higher probability of just dying attempting to get it. So, is it really worth it in the end? I would probably say no. Don't allow yourself to be fooled by the notion of sparkly things. That was terrible positioning. You look at that fortress that was constructed there. The girder above him on the ground, the blocks above preventing me from getting over the girder. We're gonna have to warp back to World 5, aren't we? This is, like, the first big roadblock as far as I'm concerned. We got the mushroom. The mushroom is gone. But we didn't die in the process of getting it, so, you know, I guess we broke even. Yep, and there's a game over. It's a tough castle. What can I say? It gets the better of me every time I try it. This is the mushroom. There, get it right, man. Alright, so now, you know, we just speed run through the level, you know. It's the worst speed run that you've ever seen. We're bumping up against pipes. We're hitting Goombas. This is why I don't speed run. I mean, I really don't speedrun, you know, because I would wind up hating every game that I tried to run. That's what every speedrunner says. They're like, you like this game? Speedrun it. You won't like it anymore. 33 minutes into this episode. Alright. We gotta at least see World 6, right? I mean, I prefer to see, you know, the end of the game, but like I told you, I haven't beaten this game in one go. It's hard. It's not, like, as hard as other games. It's not Castlevania hard. Castlevania is a much harder game. Castlevania is a game I have only beaten thanks to save states, which I have used liberally, and, I would say that I'm ashamed of that, but I don't really care. You know, we live in a world where save states are an option if you're playing on an emulator, so why wouldn't you? I mean, heck, Nintendo themselves have acknowledged this with their Switch Online library, with the ability to rewind. You can beat anything on the Switch Online library, given enough rewinds and enough grit. And I think that it's a positive thing. There might be some snobs out there who are like, oh no, it kills the whole concept of competition and being difficult. You can't just make games be easy. And I go, haha, rewind machine, go burp. So, there you go. Play a game however you want to play it. That's how I say it. If you only want to play Contra with the Konami code, use the Konami code. I'm not gonna talk you down for it. If you're terrible at StarCraft but you want to see the story, so you play the whole thing with cheats, who cares? It's your experience. Some people may not understand it, but hey, it's not up to them. It's your game. Now, if you start cheating in an online game when it no longer becomes just your game, that is a different story. Then you are just a genuine scumbag. Everyone else is trying to have a good time, and you are inhibiting their ability to have said good time. So that is obviously a completely different cup of tea there. Single player, do whatever you want. Save state, cheat, who cares? Have a good time. Multiplayer, don't ruin anybody else's time. That should be, you know, the standard way of thinking, but we still do have cheaters. I know, just the other day there was a Call of Duty streamer who was bragging about being in the top 0%, and his stream title was something like "Watch Me Wreck Kids" or something like that, and sure enough, forgot to hide his hacks. So, good job, you're a big man. We're all very impressed. Oh god, I gotta go through World 5. Obviously, that's why we're still in this mess, is because we haven't beat World 5, but gosh, World 5, it gets spooky. Okay, get above the level. Do your part. Get to that warp zone. It only skips, like, 2 levels, but, you know, take as much time optimization as you can get. Look at that, made the jump. It's probably more luck than anything. But I'm going to choose to say that, no, it was my gigantic brain executing hidden techniques. Because what do we say about putting yourself down? If you attribute everything that happens in a game to luck, that means that you're saying, I'm not capable of doing that, even though guess what? You just did it! So if you do something great and it looks like it was lucky, hey, take the win on that one. Say, I did that. Because you did do it. Whether it was luck or not, your actions had to lead to that luck in some way or another. Sometimes video games are about making your own luck. Please. Oh. I hate those springs. Sometimes you think that you're going to get a launch, and sometimes you just don't. I mean, you're in full control of it, but I'm bad at them. Okay, there we go. There's the launch. Oh, no. See? That's what I hate about Hammer Brothers! When you think you got the clear, and then they just lift their arm, and you land right on the hammer, and you're done for. You're toasted. That's why they melt my brain to this day. I don't think I will ever outgrow getting killed by Hammer Brothers. I'll be 97 years old, a venerable veteran of video games, and I'll still die to Hammer Brothers, and all the other men in the nursing home will call me a scrub. What are nursing homes gonna look like with my generation? Holy cow. I hope they're hilarious. I hope we don't all just lose our stupid sense of humor. But of course, you know, that's also assuming that everybody on the planet is the exact same, has the same personality, which is obviously not true. There are people my age who don't have the same sense of humor I do. So what am I talking about? Of course not everyone's gonna be like you. Done. Easy. But you know, I hope that by the time I'm old, assuming that the Earth hasn't burnt up and we haven't all died yet, I hope that's at the point where they can just strap a VR headset on me and I can just live my old days in VR bliss. Some might say that that's sad, but what could be happier? Your body breaks down when you're old. It becomes painful to move. Yeah, you don't have as many relationships with people because everyone you know dies. I mean, being old is a sad thing. I'm talking being very old, of course. Don't think that I'm talking about being like 50 or something. That's just like whatever. I mean, yeah, you're getting older, but you're not old yet. So I'm talking about when you're at the point where you can barely move anymore. Strap those people into VR, man. when the technology gets there. Current VR, I have a Vive. It gets a little headache-inducing sometimes, little nauseous sometimes. But we'll eventually be at the point where you can put a VR helmet on and like you'll be able to control it with just like your thoughts, and that will be amazing. And you know, if people, okay, we do have a life left. I'm not confident. If people can be made happier by experiencing that in their twilight years, oh, it's terrible. Then let them, you know, if they want to. I'm not saying, you know, make every nursing home this dystopian hell where you're strapping everyone down to their beds and forcing them into VR. That's not what I'm saying. No. If they still want to, you know, get out and take walks in their aching bodies, then let them do it. We do definitely have pretty major issues that do have to be ironed out with how our nursing homes operate, for sure. I know a fair amount of elder abuse that tends to go on in some of them, and obviously it is a very, very sad thing. So no, I'm not suggesting further elder abuse. Don't worry, that's not what I'm saying. That said, if I become to the point where I'm in a vegetative state, just throw me in the trash. You know, I give you all full permission. I'll say, yo, I like being alive, but if you can't think, you can't talk, you can't do anything, I don't know. I'm getting into very controversial topics right now, but I personally wouldn't want to be there. Maybe that's easy to say when I'm not in the position. Maybe if I were in that position, then I'd say, no, I still want to live, but I don't know. I know my own way of thinking. I know how I personally see the world, and I don't think that would be the case. I think I'd still be pretty much in the realm of, you know, find another solution here, because I don't want to sit here unthinking, unspeaking, and just kind of, for lack of a better term, taking up space. Now, and again, before anybody takes this out of context here, I am not saying let's take everybody who is in that situation and just do away with them. Not at all what I'm insinuating. Was it Colorado that legalized assisted euthanasia? I think it was, and honestly, that was a controversial move too, but I think that if a person genuinely is at the point in their life where they've lived a full life and they're at the point where their body just ain't working anymore, if they just want to be done, I don't think that there's anything dishonorable about that. I don't think that anybody should be shamed for that, and I don't think that they should be prevented from just kind of being able to wrap it up. I don't want to say end it all, because that's got very negative connotations. I think there's a difference between being old and being ready to go than there is being suicidal. I don't think it's the same thing. I mean, I guess by raw definition it is, but, you know, philosophically it's different. It's a heavy topic for, you know, a Super Mario Brothers video, isn't it? I don't even know how I got on this, so, you know, you can smack me for it later, but, maybe it's because, you know, we've fallen in lava enough by our own doing. I don't know. That's just what I think. If you've lived your life and you're ready to go, well, I salute you, Space Cowboy. You had a good run. It's your life. At that point, you've held steadfast. It should be your choice what happens next. That said, if anybody who is watching this has current suicidal feelings, I strongly urge you to seek help. I assure you, things do get better. Things will always get better. No matter how good you have it, they'll get better. No matter how bad you have it, they'll get better. The cynic in you could say, yeah, but they could get worse too. And that's true. Things could get worse. But I can almost assure you, being dead does not have a whole lot going for it. So, I'm always behind you. If there's anybody out there who has problems, get help, even if it's just reaching out to just reaching out to a loved one who isn't necessarily a pro. There goes my microphone. Just let somebody know. On that note, I think we're progressively playing worse as we keep going through this here. I need 10 coins to get a 1-up. I would like to go into the castle with at least 2 lives, although at this point I can't even guarantee that I'll make it to the castle. It's it's pretty miserable. Hey, I just saw that little trick where you can jump off the side of those pipes. I found my foot kind of clipping into the side of the pipe there. If I would have been a little faster on the draw, I could have hopped right up onto it. I'm not convinced. Not convinced that I'll accomplish our goal here. Especially not if that happens. See, Hammer Brothers are always gonna get me. A Hammer Brother is what got me on my whole bizarre existential question. Ah, they're no good. We got 15 minutes left of this. You know, for the greatest Mario Brother players in the world, they'd be able to beat the game within that time. No sweat. For me, I'm still questioning. Did I know there was a star there? I'm not sure if I've ever known of the presence of that star. You know, whatever. Ain't that the joy of these older games, you know? They're kind of designed to be played repeatedly and over, and you just find small new things that you never knew about before. That sound. I feel like I haven't said enough about the game's sound design and how it just all works. You know, like, everybody knows these songs here. Every single song in Super Mario Bros. 1 is inarguably iconic. Everybody knows them. I just realized that I just basically completely ignored the fact that there was a mushroom at the start of the level this time. That's how out of it I'm getting now. But yeah, the music, it's so recognizable. Everybody knows all of these theme songs. Even your grandma has probably heard the World 1-1 song. I'm sure high school bands have performed it. Heck, even real orchestras have performed it. You know, we get those occasional, like, video game orchestra concerts that certain orchestral groups do. I know the, come on now. What am I looking for? What are the words I'm seeking here? I'm wondering if I'm not missing out on a better warp zone. Because I feel like I'm forgetting about a crucial one that exists. But no, yes, I don't know if you've ever seen footage or heard audio of, like, the Legend of Zelda, like, orchestral concert that was performed. I think they've done multiple of those. I know they've done Final Fantasy ones where they play Final Fantasy music with an orchestra. It's all very interesting stuff, you know? I think it's a very clever way to get people into orchestral music who may not have necessarily ever been interested in it before. You know, sometimes if you want to get people into something, you gotta dangle a carrot in front of their face that they're familiar with, and a carrot that they are already known to enjoy. Video games are a very effective carrot. They especially are for me. I can remember watching The Princess Bride as a kid. How does that movie open up? With 8-bit NES sounds. Kids playing Nintendo in his room while he's sick. And boy, for me, as a little kid obsessed with video games and the concept of video games, immediately turned my head. I was like, oh, what's this? Of course, it was not a movie about video games, but it immediately gripped my attention. That's not to say that I didn't like movies as a kid. Of course, there were some movies that I appreciated very much. Shout out to Disney's Inspector Gadget. Not a very good movie, but boy, I watched a lot of that when I was a kid. Probably wouldn't recommend it to anybody nowadays, but when did that even come out? Gosh, I mean, it wasn't quite the 90s. It was the earlier 2000s, if I'm remembering correctly. That was a corny one. Matthew Broderick as Inspector Gadget. Rupert Everett as Claw. I know all the Inspector Gadget diehards back in the day, all 5 of them, were very upset that Claw's face was regularly on display. Because, you know, that was the fun part about Claw in the cartoon series. It was the in-joke, is his face was never shown. He was just this ominous presence, always stroking his cat and, you know, planning things at his evil computer. But no, then they went and made him the dashing, handsome man that he was. Was Rupert Everett ever, like, a thing? Like, did he have an illustrious film career? I feel like that's the only movie that I've seen him in, and because of that, I've always just been skewed that, oh yeah, no, he was a villain in a Disney movie, so obviously he's a big deal. But now that I think about it, I don't think I've ever seen another movie with Rupert Everett in it. Maybe he's just like a totally forgotten name in the world of film nowadays. Oh, dodged him. That was perfect. I'm a little scared to go underwater right now, but you know. Oh, that was very, very close to getting devoured by fish. Okay. Matthew Broderick, I know, obviously he had a pretty good career. You know, he's in The Music Man, obviously Ferris Bueller. No one's gonna forget about Ferris Bueller. Of course, Godzilla. Godzilla 2000, yeah! So, alright, maybe, you know, he wasn't quite the A-lister that I perceive him as either, but, you know, Ferris Bueller alone, that's gonna get you something good there. Or was that? No, that was Michael J. Fox. No, that was Matthew Broderick, right? Michael J. Fox is Back to the Future. God, get your family comedies, your family adventure movies straight from the 80s. I'm gonna get something wrong, and everyone's gonna be very frustrated with me. But hey, you know, cut me some slack. I'm a video game expert. I'm a video game professional. I don't get paid for it. I'm not particularly incredible at them, but believe me, I'm a pro. I said so, so how could it be a lie? No. More than anything, I don't want to be the best at video games. I just want to know everything about them. Like, every day I make more and more strides into just being a walking encyclopedia about it. And I've made those strides about music as well. I know quite a bit about music. And I like to just experience as much of it as I can, because there's so much of it to experience, there's so much of it to see. Music and video games, you know, they both got that same allure to me, where it's like, you have your favorites, and it's good that you have your favorites, but there's so much more, too. How can you get new favorites if you never pay attention to the new stuff? Not even necessarily new stuff, but old stuff that you have yet to witness. That's what I'm all about. That's what I've really been appreciating about anime as well. I've just been watching so much more of it. I did start Mobile Suit Gundam today. It's very, very old. Feels like something that you'd see on a Cartoon Network from back in the day, like a Johnny Quest kind of thing, except, you know, a little more grown up, a little bit more. What's the word I'm looking for? I don't even know. It's good though, actually. It's very good. I expect it to be good because, you know, it's an all-time classic. But it's a treat being able to experience it, you know? Like, I regularly see people my age a lot. An older person might say, oh, have you seen this? Or have you heard this? Like, oh, well, this Beatles song. And they're like, yo, I'm like 20-something. And I say, that is a poor excuse, because the wonders of old media is that it still exists. You can still check it all out. No! We bumped on the corner of the girder! I thought I would have cleared that. Oh, that's the worst thing that's ever happened in the history of the world right there. But, yeah. The point I'm making is, if something's old, guess what? You can still experience it. You can still seek it out. If you want to watch Mobile Suit Gundam, you're in the enviable position where you live in the days of the internet. You can find anything that you want on the internet, given enough effort. Same thing with movies. If someone asks you if you've ever watched, sorry, I'm thinking. If you ever watched The Godfather and you say, that movie's old, I'm not that old. That girder! I've been robbed twice in a row by it. Oh, we should have beaten that level easily. Yeah, we don't even have the time to get past level 6 now, but I got 5 more minutes, so I'm gonna keep going. But yeah, if you say, I wasn't around when The Godfather came out, so what? I'm not proud of that. So what? It's still out there. You can find it anywhere, pretty much. Like, just look up "Watch Godfather" and you'll find a way to watch it. I don't know if it's on Netflix or Hulu, but it's got to be on something. If it's not, guess what? It's on DVD somewhere. You'll probably even find a place that still rents DVDs. They still exist. No, that said, I know it can be hard. It can be slightly harder to adjust to older things when you're used to newer things. Older sci-fi things might not be as appealing to younger people because, you know, we're spoiled by the concept of modern special effects. You know, it's an objective fact that J.J. Abrams' Star Trek films look better than the original series. That's how technology works. Special effects improve. That's just an obvious fact of life. But there is still value in seeing all of the older stuff, and I'm not saying, hey, if you're younger, if you're a younger millennial or a Zoomer or something, you have to partake in older media. You don't, but you can. The fact that you weren't around when it came out, that's the poor excuse. Saying I'm not interested in watching older things. That's fine, because that's not even an excuse. That's just like you're stating your opinion. You're saying this is how I feel about it. I'm not particularly interested in it. If you're not interested, just say you're not interested. You know, I'm not gonna rag on you for it. I get it. Newer things are nice. PlayStation 4 games feel more modern. They're probably gonna appeal to young people more than PlayStation 1 games will. That said, if you completely close your mind off to them, you're going to be missing out on a lot of exceptional relics from the past. Same thing goes with comic books, you know? Newer comic books are very flashy, have very complicated storylines, but there are some older storylines as well that are remarkably good. The Infinity Stones, you know, like Infinity War is not a new concept. That is an old-ass story now at this point. Like, I want to say 70s even. And it's still being adapted. I mean, look at Avengers, Infinity War, and Endgame. Obviously, that's adapting a, like, nearly, not quite 50-year-old, but coming up on 50-year-old story. And of course, everybody's gonna find that more appealing because, again, modern special effects, modern filmmaking techniques, all of that. I don't expect everybody to go back and read the Infinity War comics now at this point. It's like we're not even trying anymore. Man, I was so dialed in that first run, and then that first game over, I just fell over and died. The episode's basically over, but you know what? Well, let's see how fast we can get through level 1-1. Not very fast, as it turns out. Two bumps. Plus, you know, we didn't take the pipe shortcut, which is dumb. You gotta get those frame perfect jumps too when you're about to bump into something. Yeah, old stuff can be good. New stuff can also be good. Stuff in general is good. I think it's good to experience as much of whatever media you like as you possibly can. Anyway, that's Super Mario Brothers. You know, something that you've definitely never seen before. Very new to all of you. A definite diamond in the rough and obscure NES gem. Something that historians will get to have a field day now that it has been exposed to the rest of the world. Obviously a very popular game. You've all played it. You've all seen it. This episode was a formality more than anything else, you know. It had to be done. It was there. it was its turn. How do I feel about it? It's an all-time classic. What can you say? It absolutely slaughters the competition in terms of how other platformers control. Ice Climber, I laugh. uh, the only other game I can think of that played as well for its generation as it did, maybe Pitfall. Pitfall for the Atari 2600. If it were an NES game, it wouldn't be all that impressive, but as an Atari 2600 game, again, slaughter the competition. It's just a new golden standard. And that's what Super Mario Brothers was. Super Mario Brothers' job in the world was to propel video games into a more serious light and tell everybody, pay attention to this, because we're just getting started. And it does that job very well. Is it worth buying? Of course it's worth buying. Everyone should own a copy of this in some capacity. I own a couple different versions, as I said in the start of this episode. So yeah, get it, buy it, play it, however way you can. It's on the Switch Online library, almost guaranteed. I haven't double checked that, but how could it not be? Next episode, we're back to sports with tennis, which as far as I know is a curling game. So yeah, we'll see you then. Thank you so much for watching always. Join me next time. Tell your lawyer, and we'll get on it.